It was about a 24-hour flight. I was scared. I remember to this day I cried. I actually cried, but I cried out of anger, like motivating myself that I got this. I chose to do this. I have to pull through.
Did 2 tours, no?
Did tours in Iraq and Afghanistan. The first one was Iraq, and it was rough. You train for this, but training and being there is two different stories. Now you have real bullets flying your way. And I encountered a lot of different things that most people are not ready for.
Welcome to another episode. Well, episode three of the Works podcast with a good friend of mine, Christian Hernandez with MJC Construction Group.
All right.
Welcome, Chris. Welcome, Chris.
Thank you for having me, brother.
So, Chris, man, I saw you at the gym.
Yeah,
and I was like, yo, Chris, dog, let's, get on the podcast, man, because I know I've known you now for about 15 years, more or less.
More or less, yeah, 15 years.
And I was like, man, Chris has been through a lot.
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? Let me get Chris on the podcast. And
first of all, let me say, Sammy, it's such a honor to be here, man, with you. We share a lot of history together. We've known each other for many years, and seeing where you're at now, and you transitioning and where your company's going and where you're growing, brother, I'm telling you, it's a blessing, and I love to see, what's happening. So
I appreciate
this.
That,
I love this. To me,
bro.
It's an honor to be here and taking the time to come out and talk to you.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it a lot, man. I know we met at BMW, but there's a lot, before you landed there at BMW, you were in the military, Before that, I don't know where you were traveling, if you were living in Puerto Rico at the time or you were living somewhere up in the other states. I don't really know that much of the background. Just a little transition, and then we'll go into what we're doing now. But
Absolutely.
Go ahead and introduce yourself, bro.
So when I came out of Puerto Rico, we moved to a small town here in Florida, actually, close to Orlando. It's called Avon Park. And I was living there for a few years, throughout high school. I graduated high school from there. And upon graduation, I had a little fallout with my dad at the time. Things got a little rough between him and I. And he told me the greatest words that anybody could ever say to me. My dad said, "I will never be nothing in life." And, when somebody of that caliber, your father, tells you something like that, most people will take that and they would victimize themselves. You know what I mean? The way I took it was I used it to fuel me, just because of the simple fact that I wanted to prove him wrong, because he told me that I was not going to be, I don't know, am I allowed to say shit?
Yeah, bro, yeah, of course.
He told me
you're going to be shit. You're not going to be shit in life.
He said I wasn't going to be shit in life. I actually wanted to prove him wrong. So because of that drive for me to prove my father that I could be something in life, I didn't like school at the time. I had no desire for going to school, continuing education. So I say, what do I do? How do I prove this man that I can be somebody? I can be something.
But do you think he said that to you to motivate you, or you think he said it to you like talking down to you? Or you know what I'm saying? Like it was probably like you probably took it in that sense, but he probably knew and believed in you that you could probably become something, you could really exceed in life, and he just wanted to light up that fuel,
Well, if he did or didn't, or whatever his motivation was behind it, I don't know, but I used it to fuel my motivation to get ahead in life. And what I did was I joined the military. And
what year was this?
It was 1997.
Okay.
When I joined the military, I graduated in 96.
Right?
I joined the Army in 97. And when I went to a MEP station to sign the paperwork, they asked me, "Where would you like to go?" I said, "Send me as far away from my parents as you can." And I remember to this day, the guy that was signing the paperwork, he turned around and said, "Hey, another one's going to Korea."
Wow.
It didn't dawn on me at the time, but here I am after basic training. I landed in Korea and I was 19 years old. And when I landed in Korea,
How was that? Like a different
it
world?
was a whole different
From
world.
Avon Park, bro. I could just imagine, bro.
Listen, you're on the other side of the world. It's cold. We got there at nighttime. It was about a 24-hour flight. I was scared. I remember to this day I cried. I actually cried, but I cried out of anger, like motivating myself that I got this. I chose to do this. I have to pull through. But at the same time, I have in the back of my head, like, I'm in the other side of the world. I have no friends here. I have no family. Who
You're
do
by
you
yourself.
turn to? You're by yourself. So fast forward, a year later after I got done in Korea, I came back to the US and I got stationed in Fort Carson, Colorado. And I came home. I made sergeant in a little under 2 years. It's very limited people that can say they've done that in the military. And I became a sergeant. I felt that I was somebody important. You're a sergeant in the United States Army. Now you're the youngest non-commissioned officer in your unit. And I felt so proud that I drove from Fort Carson, Colorado to Florida. Back then they didn't know GPS. There was no,
To go talk to your dad.
to go talk to
To
my
go
dad.
talk to your dad
So
and-
my
and
dad
show
could
him what's
see
up.
that I am somebody. I had a little atlas. I traced the route and I set off to go, to come to Florida from Colorado.
How was that? How was that when you
That road trip was scary, man. Let me tell you, I had some interesting things happen to me in that road trip. I got lost in Louisiana and I ended up in some rough
rough neighborhood?
neighborhood. And to my surprise, that day I thought I was gonna die because they all came to the car and they told me, listen, young boy, get out of the car. And I'm like, look, I'm not getting out of the car. I don't want any trouble. Here's my map. I'm trying to get to Florida.
So it was like the hood.
It was in the hood. And they were like, no, young boy, listen, get out of the car. And I thought to this day, I said, it's over for me. That's it.
Were you packing or no?
I wasn't packing. I was young, I was just military me, and that's it. I got out of the car, and this big guy, he had no shirt on, big belly. He comes up to me, he hugs me, and he said, hey, come here, boy. You're going to go and try my ribs, and you're going to tell everybody in this block that I make the best ribs you ever had in your life. And I was like,
Damn, out of nowhere.
I was like, what is this? What I was shocked. I was like, what's going on? And he's like, you're going to try this Southern hospitality. So, make a long story short, I stayed there overnight. I ate good. They treated me like I was part of their
Really?
family. They took me to the mall. They showed me around, and it was very interesting. The next day, I stayed in a hotel. The next day, I head over to Florida. Came home, met my parents, and to show them that
What did
here
your
you
dad
are.
say?
To my surprise, see, my dad was going through a rough time before I left to the military, and it's a whole different family thing that was happening at the time. And when I came back, he was in the church and he had found God, and he was a different man. So when I got there and I met him and found that figure, it was a shock to me, because he's no longer the guy that told me that I wasn't going to be shit. He was very welcoming and very loving, and oh my God, I'm glad that you're becoming this and this person. It was like a surprise to me.
Wow.
But at the same time, it kind of like, it pissed me off because I'm like, man, I wanted to show this guy, but at the same time, I took it in and we spoke and we forgave each other for a lot of the things that happened between him and I. And my father and I now have the greatest relationship any father and son could ever ask for,
That's awesome. Man.
So, fast forward from that, I was in the military. I got sent over to Iraq,
And you
and I
served in
served there
Iraq.
in Iraq. It was rough. Serving over there was very, very, very rough.
What year was that? What year did you deploy? Did you deploy right away or?
I deployed right after 9/11 happened, and all the commotion went on, and we set up the unit, and we were gone. So right away we were gone, and I remember
How many tours? Because I think you did 2 tours, no?
I did tours in Iraq and Afghanistan, but the first one was Iraq, and it was rough. You train for this, but training and being there is two different stories, especially when now you have real bullets flying your way, and I encountered a lot of a lot of different things that most people are not ready for. Even I wasn't ready for with all the training that we had. There was I remember one incident where we went out on a convoy at nighttime and we actually drove over
Landmine?
uh,
Was it a
they
mine
call it
or
IED or
ID? Yeah.
an IED, and the vehicle that was in blew up. And that day it was like I thought it was it for me. If
No way.
Louisiana was bad, this was it was
I can
worse.
imagine.
So I actually came out in the newspaper. They did a whole article on it, and my dad framed it and put it on the wall. So that was pretty cool.
It's pretty dope.
So that, and a lot of different things that you go through. I lost my best friend over there. On his second tour there, and
Pretty sure you lost a lot of friends, man. Because a lot of people
yeah.
lost their lives,
Yeah.
serving over there.
A lot of people don't realize what veterans go through. So it's tough. It's tough to transition from that into the civilian life. And when I came back from Iraq, it took me a while to transition over, especially after after I got kicked out of the military. Not kicked out. I got medically retired out of the military because I got hurt. And transitioning from that into the civilian life, it was tough. It was very, very tough. For a year you struggle with, trying to find who you are or what's your purpose now.
What kind of I know you've told me a couple stories when you were out there, but is it sometimes like how they portray it, sometimes like how to be? Like was it really like was I know you're at war and people are dying, but were you able to see or experience at least, or be able to enjoy at least some moments there with your in the platoon that you were with, or was it always serious and sad? Was there any good times that you were able to at least enjoy, find some, even though you're in the middle of war, were you able to find at least some sort of happiness that, I don't know if I'm explaining it right. You're able to at least enjoy that. You're not that you're fighting 24/7.
Right.
You're back at base and you're probably able to, calm down a bit and
you become like family with your platoon and your squad. You spend so much time with them, you really become a one united family. And there is downtime. There's time that you get to enjoy with them. You play games. You play dominoes and cards, and we do our own comedy skits, and things like that. So there is time that you get to enjoy. It's not all, you're not always out there fighting. You get your turn. Everybody, rotates to go out of the base to go patrol and things like that. But, in the back of your head, you still have that tension because even at camp, you can get attacked at any given moment. So even though you're having fun, the tension is always there. So you're constantly thinking in the back of your head, is this gonna be the day? Am I gonna live to go back home and see my family? So it's something that's always there in the back of your mind. No matter how much fun you're having, it's always tough.
yeah, man. Because I'm the reason why I ask is I know that you're there, but there has to be some. It's not, you can't say fun, but something enjoyable out of it. That's why I was asking to see.
It was. I mean, if I could do it all over again, I would do it. I would serve this country.
I wish I would have served, man.
I would serve this country in a heartbeat. I think we live in the greatest country in the world, and to me it was an honor to serve this country, and it was fun. I say some of my best years in life I spent in the military. The 8 years that I served.
Well, you're able to travel too.
I traveled to 19 different countries.
See the world, man.
Oh man, let me tell you, and
see the world.
it wasn't all bad. I could say it was more of the good than the bad. Bad, yeah, we got shot at, and we went through a little rough areas where blew up inside the vehicle, but I would say that it was more good than it was bad.
I remember you telling me a story that, we were talking about it, that you would always go to this like one market or something and buy stuff and bring it back to base, and you were getting. I go ahead. I want you to because bro, it's crazy, man. You would never think,
Absolutely. Well, we took over Samara East Airfield, and when we would go patrol the town, there was this one-way road that we have to go on, and at the end of the road, where you had to either make a right or a left turn, there was a market there. These guys had set up like a little shop. They sell cigarettes and chips and water and
Yeah,
ice and
drinks.
all kind of goodies and stuff. So we would always stop there, to refill with bags. So we would go on patrol for hours. And these guys, every time we got out of the vehicles, America's good. We love you guys. Yeah, yeah. And these guys will
Like,
hug
thank you for
us.
being
And
there. Thank you for being.
thank you so much, America. We love you. And we became very good friends, and we would always interact with the same people all the time. And one particular night, we got called out. My team got called out to go escort the ammo carriers to the fire base because they were shooting aluminum rounds to the town. And when we were on our way there, we got attacked, and this attack lasted from about 6 o'clock in the afternoon to about 5, 6 in the morning, somewhere about. We finally made our way into the area where they were attacking us from, and it was a little village. And when we got there, we were able to. There was some of the guys there were wounded, and we were able to arrest them and zip time. And when we went inside the house where we had all the guys prisoners, and I looked, it was the same guys that
In
were
the market.
in the market telling how much they loved America and how much
You think
they
they were
thanked us for
pressured though?
their-
You think they were pressured to do that?
I'm not sure,
Because maybe
um,
because maybe they were watching them, and they saw how they were interacting with you guys, and they probably threatened them, man. Hey, look, if you don't do this, we're gonna do this. I'm just seeing it now. I'm seeing it
right,
now
right.
in that, or it could just be that they were just
I'm not sure what their motivation was, but I could tell you at the time,
you were pissed off.
I was
man.
pissed off. I actually hit one of the guys, and
I could imagine.
my
man.
commander walked in and he was like, Sergeant H, what are you doing? I said, well, this guy tried to kill me, and yesterday he sold me some chips and some soda, so I wanted to punch him. He said, all right, hit him one more time.
And what do you guys take them back to the base?
Yeah, it took him to a prison camp that we had set up.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, it was very, very, very interesting times.
So you got discharged off of, I guess you got hurt or something like that?
I got hurt when I got out. When I left Iraq, I went over. I did special operations, and I went to training in Fort Bragg, North Carolina, and I got hurt. I fell off of one of the obstacles. So when I got hurt, they gave me two options. They said, "Listen, you can no longer be special ops," which I love to do. That was my passion. You either have to reclass to a desk job, or you have to get out on a medical discharge. And you're young and you're so pumped up with energy and so gun ho. I was like, yeah, as long as I'm wearing this uniform, I will never be a pencil pusher for nobody. I'll never work behind a desk. And so I took the medical discharge, and years later I ended up working behind a desk. So go figure, right? How did that go?
Yeah, man. So you left, and then you ended up going back to down here to Florida, or you ended up moving somewhere else?
I left the military and I ended up coming back here to Florida. I actually wanted to live in Orlando until my sister was living down here in Miami at the time, in Hollywood, actually. And I didn't know the Miami area that much. I think I've been to Miami before that, like once before or twice before when I was younger. And we came down to visit my sister, and she took me to South Beach. And I remember to this day, man, going over that bridge, that 395 bridge into South Beach, I was like, this is where I want to be at. This is paradise. Or be at the Orlando, that's it. I don't want to go back to Orlando. I actually had a deposit at an apartment in Orlando, and I never went back. I stayed here.
No way.
I asked my sister if I can, stay
Crash
with her, crash with her at her pad for a little bit until I got my life together. And she said, sure, no problem. The military gave me a severance package, so I have money. They gave me a big chunk of money when I discharged because of the accident and things like that. So I told my sister, listen, let me crash at your pad and until I can establish myself here in Miami. And I stayed with her for a couple of days. I found an apartment, pimped it out, straight bachelor pad, and I took a whole year off
Really? Oh,
Yeah,
because
I
you're at war, bro.
I
You
didn't work
served,
for a whole
you
year.
served. You usually like, fuck that.
Exactly.
Let me just chill for a bit and enjoy life a little bit.
In my mind, it was just thinking, hey, I almost died in Iraq, and all these things that were happening. I said, I need some time off to enjoy life, and
Of course.
it was a whole year of
Did
nonstop.
you
Just
feel any kind of depression or no?
I drank a lot. I drank a lot. I
But
think
you
I
drank.
drank my depression away.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah.
I was never sober enough to say that I felt depressed because alcohol gave me that mood, that mood boost, and that everything's gonna be okay, and it was all a lie. You're hiding behind the alcohol, all your feelings, and after a year, money started running out because I was out splurging and out wasting money like it was
So
just
you had to
crazy,
find a job.
And I was like, you know what? I need to get my life together. I need to find a job, and I went to I had a friend of mine create a resume for me, but in the military I did a lot of schooling, and believe it or not, all that translated to a lot in the civilian world. I took a lot of courses in the military, so
Because the military, it teaches you a lot, and it's not just combat stuff. It teaches
a
you
lot of
discipline.
training,
It
a lot of
teaches you
training.
responsibility. It teaches you a whole bunch of things.
Listen, I almost had enough credits to become an RN.
Oh wow.
So I took a lot of medical courses, and I almost got into the medical field. I had to take combat life saving courses, how to give an IV in the field while you're under pressure and things like that. And when they take that and translate it into the civilian world, it credits you. I almost walked away with a bachelor's degree.
Oh damn.
So I was some credit shy off a bachelor's degree after all that got translated, plus some college courses that I took when I was in the military. So, all that got put into a resume, and every job that I went to, they told me like, you're overqualified. This is just a little desk job that we're trying to offer. And finally, my sister.
What year was this?
This is 2003.
Oh,
2004, I'm sorry,
Okay.
2004. So in 2004, I was just going around looking for a job, and everybody's like, you're overqualified. They would read my resume and tell me I'm overqualified, and I'm like, man, what are you talking about? This is in the military, and
Whoever typed up that resume, bro, they probably put too much.
no, it was because of all the studying that I did, all the courses that I took that translated into that, and I remember my sister hooked me up with through a friend of hers from work, for a job at Ford. And I remember I went into the office and I saw the manager there, older guy. Him and I became really really cool at the time. Older gentleman, and I saw a Marine. He was an ex-Marine, and I said, "Oh, this is the guy. Here we go." And I started talking about
That's it.
military with him, and he started. In the military, we all
Everybody talk shit about
everybody
each other.
stabs at each other. So, he's like he said a army joke, and I said, well, you know what USMC stands for? And he goes, what does it stand for? I said, Uncle Sam's Military Custodian. And he said, I like you, boy. So we became real cool. And I said, listen, I'm gonna show you my resume, and you're probably gonna tell me I'm overqualified, but I need a fucking job. All right, just give me the keys to the dealership. I'll open and close. I'll do whatever it takes.
We're just trying to bring some money in.
I just need to start bringing some money in. And he says,
It's crazy that I'm sorry to cut you off. It's crazy that there wasn't no kind of like resources or like a staffing agency at the time. I don't know if there is. I'm pretty sure there is now to help.
No, there was. Even at the time,
okay.
there was a staffing agency. The military, they're so great that they help you transition, into the civilian world. They offer all the help that you can get.
But it's up to you.
But it's up to you to take the help.
And you're trying to probably be a badass, trying to
Exactly.
not you don't want the helping hand. You're just trying to. I'm gonna do it my way.
Exactly.
And I'll
You're
figure it
hard-headed,
out,
you want to go and you want to figure it out on your own, you don't take advantage of the resources that are available for you, and you want to figure out, and you take a road that could have been this short and you go around in circles trying to do it yourself. I learned that the hard way. So he gave me the job. He told me, he says, listen, all I have available is a cashier. He says, but I won't make you wear a skirt. 'Cause they were all
Yeah, he was
females
throwing
working
jokes
there.
out there.
Yeah, he told me, he said, I won't make you wear a skirt, but it only pays $7.75 an hour.
Wow.
And I said, you know what? I'll take it. And I took it. And I started working at Ford as a cashier. So worked there for a few months, and I remember to this day, man, I would see the girls that was sitting out back, and I would go over there and I'm like, listen, what do you do? No, I'm the bookkeeper. Oh, okay, cool. How much do you make? I make $11 an hour. And in my head, I'm like, all right, I'm coming for your job,
Of course.
So at lunchtime, I was single, I didn't need to go on lunch. I just wanted to make money. My motivation was like, all right, money's running out. I need to start pumping some money back into the account. So I was like, all right, how do I go for her job? So I started at lunchtime sitting by her. All right, what are you doing? How do you input this? What are you doing with that? How do you do this? How do you do that? Mind you, I didn't know. I'm gonna tell you a secret. And my resume say I could type 300 and something words per minute. I didn't even know how to turn a computer on at the time because I was in combat arms, in the military. So this lady sat there and taught me all this stuff. So she got sick and she had to take a medical.
Did she get sick or did you get her sick, bro?
I don't know what it was, but she got Benito, she got sick.
Oh, she did?
Yeah, she got sick really, really bad. And the position came open, and I went to my Marine boss, and I was like, hey, listen, before you hire somebody for the position, so give me a chance.
He was like a GM, or he was?
He was the service manager.
Okay.
Said,
this was all in service.
This is all in service. I said, give me a chance. I can do that. And he says, okay, prove me. You got a week to prove to me that you can do the job. And I went in there, and I did it, and I was there early. I stayed late, inputting things in the computer, learning what she did. And when they learned that she wasn't not going to be able to make it back to work because of her condition, he told me, he said, the job is yours. And I said, well, I want her pay as well. And she said, well, how much do you want? I said, well, she was making $11 an hour. I said, I want at least that. I said, well, it's yours. So I transitioned into bookkeeping. Nice. So while I'm sitting back there with the girls in the bookkeeping office, I learned that the warranty administrator was making $21 an hour.
Ah, yeah, I'm going for that job.
And I said, I'm gonna go for that job. So I did the same thing. I went through lunchtime. I would sit by her and learn what she was doing. And I think God was on my side at the time, or the universe was working and operating on my side, because they did an audit. And when they did the audit, they ended up getting rid of her because
she fucked up.
It was all bad,
So she was so
yeah. I felt bad when they do it.
Of course.
But I did the same thing. I went to my boss and I told her, hey, listen, before you hire somebody, let me. He said, well, he says, you got 2 weeks to fix this fuck up. And he gave me a stack of papers about this big, and he put it on the desk. He says, you got 2 weeks. And I'm telling you, day and night.
But was it like wrong codes or something like that?
A lot of codes, a lot of different things that she inputted wrong, and, a lot of things that technicians got paid for and overbooked and overpaid, and, a whole mess that I went through and fixed, 2 weeks. I actually did it in less than the time that he allotted. And I went back with a stack of paper. I said, it's fixed. And I said, I want the job, and I want the $21 an hour. And he says, you fix all this shit?
This is all in the span, because I think you said 2004, right?
Right.
So in how many years was this? Oh, this was like
this all was quick.
This was all within a couple years?
All within a couple of months, actually.
Diablo.
All within a couple of months.
So it was all quick then.
Quick months just happening, and I'm learning. I have no idea what the guys did out back. I learned it through warranty. How to code and what the different codes were for things. And I had no idea what dealership life was like, And when I became a warranty administrator, now I'm working with the service advisors. And I became real cool with them. They want to get paid, so they want me to book their hours and their times. And I had to ask them, like, hey, how do you guys do it out here? You guys, my whole motivation was money.
Of course, bro.
And I'm asking the guys,
because you need
like,
the money.
I'm asking, like,
and funds are running low. That's every guy's motivation, though,
It's
man. It's money,
motivation's
man.
money. I says,
If you're a guy, you're not motivated about money. I don't know that, man.
hey, I don't know. Some guys out there that they're okay with what they're doing. You know,
Motivation for guys is either money or women, bro.
me, it was money at the time, man. So when we were in New England, we were there for 3 years, and after 3 years, you know, the cold kind of gets a hold of you, and like, man, shit, you know, I don't want to live here anymore. And I kept telling my wife, you know, like, babe, I want to go back to Florida. And she would say, I'm never going back to Florida. You know,
She hated it?
not that she hated it, but remember I was wild, and she pulled me out of that wild. And
She doesn't want to,
she didn't want me to go. You know, we were in New England. We bonded there. Our relationship kind of like got really close together. And that period that we were there in New England, and she didn't want to break away from that. So when I mentioned Florida, I was like mentioning the devil, you know, it's like, shit, I don't ever want to go back to Florida. But after 3 years, you know, we were really, really good. Our relationship was solid, you know, and she agreed. She's like, you know what? I'm tired of the cold. I'm tired of the snow. I'm tired of all this. Let's just go back to Florida. And just like that, you know, I went to work and I told my boss, listen, I'm giving you a 30-day notice. Bring somebody in. I'll train them. And I got to head back to Florida. He understood because he was from here. I said, listen, I can't deal with this cold anymore. I can't deal with this culture up here anymore. I'm ready to go back. He said, listen, I understand. Not a problem. So he brought somebody in. We trained them. I remember back in the day, they had...
you guys moved down here without even having nothing down here?
Nothing at all.
Wow.
So, I mean, we packed up. I sold most of the things on Craigslist. And whatever left we had, I rented a trailer, and we came down. We stayed at my parents' house for...
What year was this?
Wow, this is 2007?
7?
No, 2010.
Oh, okay.
2010. We came down, we stayed at my parents for a couple of weeks, and my wife said, listen, you got to get me out of your parents' house. I need stability. And I understood, you know, women want stability. She said, I need stability. I need to be on our own. You know, we were coming from living the good life to being here with your parents. And I was like, all right, what do we do? So
Yeah, because she knew that if you get comfortable, you'll just stay there.
we'll stay there. And, you know, I didn't want to be there. She didn't want to be there. So
of course, no privacy.
No privacy. So we came down here to Miramar and got an apartment there. And I remember we went back to the dealership where I was working at, and then I said, your position's filled. So I mean, we can hire you, but it's not gonna be the same, you know. And I said, whatever, you know, I'll take a job. I know I could work my way up again, you know. So we were living in Miramar at an apartment, and you know, because I wanted to keep my wife in the same lifestyle that we were living in, you know, we got a nice place, you know. And I remember what I was making there wasn't covering the rent.
Hustle mode had to kick in.
You know, so you got that snowball effect where you're now taking out your savings to live. And
Yeah, but it also pushed you as well, though.
right, but at the time it was rough. It was a year that we were there in that apartment. Let me tell you, and for a whole year, because our expenses were so high, it kept eating
Into the savings.
And for that whole entire year, I was making $11 an hour back in the days. My rent alone was $1,600 back then.
Yeah, I know.
So do the math. It doesn't add up.
Doesn't add up. Yeah, you're taking it. You're taking out of your savings
Exactly. So
to just make ends meet.
we were there. We had no furniture. You know, we had sold everything, and we stayed without furniture for a whole entire year. And my wife, man, she has so much faith. You understand? Like, her faith is so strong, right? That after a year being in an apartment, our lease was almost up, and we were sleeping in mattresses, right? We had our mattresses, but there was no frame, just mattresses on the floor. And when people would come into the house, we'd tell them, listen, we adopted the Japanese style, so sit on the floor and enjoy, you know? So she wakes up one day, she says, you know what? She was a big believer, you know. She still is, you know. She's a big believer. And she told me, said, listen, I had a dream or a calling from God, says that we're going to buy a house. We're going to leave this apartment to go into a house. And I was like, me. I get the fuck out of here.
Get dreamy, get
I
dreamy.
get dreamy. How? Hey, we're making $11 an hour.
I'm trying to make more money right now.
I'm making $11 an hour. We're talking about a house. We're going from a house to this. He says, yeah, call a realtor because we need to look at houses. And I was like, I'm thinking in my head, she's crazy, man.
She was forecasting it, bro.
This is crazy. This is nuts, But I said, I'll entertain it for a little bit, So I talked to a couple of friends, that were realtors, and they're like, Chris, are you qualified? I'm like, no, man, just I take my wife out and entertain her for a little bit. We're gonna look at houses, whatever, something that we can't even afford, And she told me, she's like, listen, I had the thing again. We're gonna leave here to go into a house. Doors are gonna start opening up, and I was like, yeah, whatever. And it did. It happened. I got a call. I went to a job interview at BMW, and I got called to go work at BMW. And I started making
decent money,
at BMW. And I was like, wow, this is crazy. So one thing, make a long story short, one thing led to another. You start making decent money. Now we're qualified to buy a house. Now we're looking at houses, and I'm like, this is crazy how everything is happening. And we got here 2010, 2012. We bought our house.
Yeah, in 2 years.
Out of faith. I didn't believe it. We bought our house in 2 years.
Your wife is a believer, bro.
Big time. And she's the motor behind the motivation. You know what I mean? She tells me every day, I believe in you. Go out there and eat the world, and transitioning from being in the automotive industry into doing what I'm doing now.
Yeah, the entrepreneurship.
And to be in an entrepreneurship, you need that. Because when you're working for somebody, it's one thing. You're set. You got money coming in, but when you got to go out there and you got to grind, you need that motor behind you to push you, and to tell you that
everything's gonna be fine.
Everything's gonna be okay. Understand that times are tough right now, but I believe that everything's gonna adjust itself, and the universe is gonna work itself out. And I'm a true believer that if you do right by people and you do good, good's gonna come back.
100%, man. 100%.
Good is gonna come.
I cannot agree with you even more, bro. 100%. 100%. What made you transition? I know that we worked at the dealership for quite some time, but what was the what made you say, you know what, man, forget it, man? Because you were making good money. I was making good money, but it was just something, because we would always talk, man. We knew that this wasn't it for us. We knew that there was better opportunity out there for us. It was a lot more riskier because, like you said, we had to go out there and get it. I know I left, and that was like a domino effect.
Absolutely.
It was a domino effect. Everybody, I don't know if it was because I made it like, damn, if Sammy did it, man, like, yo, I don't know if that's the way it was, because I wasn't there. I don't know what you guys spoke about, But I know after I left, it was like, boom, boom. Everybody started just leaving. I don't know if it was like some kind of...
because we had our little clique, that we would always talk. And I remember, man, to this day, we would, you, Brent, and I saw Brent here on the podcast, it was pretty cool. I want to reach out to him and spend some time with him. But going back to that, I remember all of us, and Gwen as well.
David.
We used to always talk about, there's got to be more out there. We got complacent for a couple of years because, like you said, we were making good money, and we were okay with that. But then it came a time where we weren't happy. Exactly. I remember it became a burden to wake up to go to work, and it was so, it would weigh on me so much that when I would get there, the mood wasn't there anymore, And
yeah, you're already going into leadership negative.
You're going into a negative frame of mind. Not only that, but we sat with so many successful people while we were there, and a lot of the times I would pick their brain, and let me tell you, I learned so much, Sammy, from these people, because you would sit there, and some of these people were immigrants that didn't speak any English. They didn't speak the language at all. And they were very successful. You remember John Jairo?
Mm-hmm.
Very successful guy, And you would talk to him, then this guy didn't know English at all. And he ran a huge company. And I'm like, how do you do it? and Rudy Ortiz, very, very successful guy. And I would pick their brain, like, how did you transition? Because Rudy told me his story. He came here from New York, making $150,000 a year, and he wasn't happy. And he says, I just made a decision one day, and I left fear behind. And the one thing that stuck to me was they all said the same thing. They said, you cannot be afraid. So if you look at it now, what we have versus other people is the fear factor.
Yeah, we're
You
not
know,
afraid.
we weren't afraid to do it. A lot of people are in the same situation that we were in back in the day, but they won't make that jump. They're afraid. So picking their brains and asking them, what motivated you and what it intrigued me more into want to go out there and explore. And my wife and I, we talk a lot, about we talk about everything. My wife is my best friend, and I was talking to her one time, and she was like, I said, babe, you know what? I bet if I was out there in the world, in the real, I call it the real world, and not in a
Not
blue
behind,
collar environment,
not behind
I
the
can
desk.
not behind a desk. I said I can probably eat the world.
Because you dedicate all the time spent to one thing. You're not just there at the dealership waiting for people to come in.
Correct.
Because that's what we were. We were just waiting for the clients to come in. If nobody came in, you're fucked.
You're fucked. And my wife said to me that day, she said, you know what? I believe that you can do a lot if you get out there. I said, you have the potential to do a lot. Says you're there. And she started naming all these great qualities that I had that you don't even see within yourself. You like to do this, you this and this and this and this. And I was like, oh wow, I would like to see, myself the way you see me, And I started looking at myself different, and I started getting that entrepreneur mind frame, and I did a lot of reading, a lot of watching a lot of videos and listening to a lot of.
Did you seek any like mentor or somebody? Did you surround yourself with somebody? Because that was like one of the benefits, at least for me, is being in the position that we were in there. We were able to meet so many people, and I was able to meet my one mentor, Elkin. He was the first person on the podcast, and we all, because we don't know it all, and we try to seek somebody close to us, somebody trustworthy to help us guide.
Right.
Did you have somebody there? Did you meet? Because I knew some of your customers. Your customers,
Right,
my
right.
customers knew you. So I think of a couple, but I'm not really 100% sure.
We shared the house when we were there.
Yeah, I know. I'm not 100% sure. Which one was it that really said, "Man, go, Chris. You got this," or "Hey, Chris, jump on this opportunity." I don't know how.
I had
how
a
it was.
few. I had and I saw Elkin on the podcast too,
Yeah.
and I remember him.
Yeah.
From
We were
the
bringing them
dealership.
5.
Yeah, man, I remember him, and I heard the podcast. Very inspiring story as well. But yeah, I had a few. I had Rudy Ortiz. To this day, we
tight.
still get together. We're still good. He's still my mentor. I learned a lot from that guy. Business perspective and business wise, I learned a lot from him. And Caesar, remember Caesar?
I remember Caesar too.
So Caesar and Rudy were the two main guys that I spent a lot of time with.
So when you left the dealership, those are the people you would.
That I called. Rudy, I spent some time with him while I was at the dealership. We would go on lunch breaks together, or even dinner. I went back to school, just to rewind a little bit, and I got a bachelor's in business, and it was all inspired by me wanting to leave and do better, and Rudy was a big part of that. He said, listen, go back to school, get some things and start the transition period, and I did, and picking their brains, and Caesar taking me out to his business and showing me how things were done. It was easier for me to make the transition, especially with, like I said before, having the backbone that we had. Being my wife, being the person she was. I came home one day and I told her, I said, babe, I'm done. I think this is it. I'm ready to make that leap. I'm ready to make that transition. So
Did you prepare yourself for that? Like, did you put enough money away? Or was it just spare of the moment kind of thing? Like, yo, that's
No,
it,
no,
I'm
you know,
done.
we had some
Did you
money.
lower expenses before leaving?
We
Stuff
had to.
like that.
We made some adjustments. We adjusted the expenses a little bit, um, and then we made the transition. And when I was working there, it's funny, man, because I was working there. I was living this. We were making good money. I was living this very
Lavish in quotes.
lavish.
Like we would buy things, we would
I
do
was
things, and the
splurging
money, we
on
weren't
things.
thinking
We were
about the money.
exactly. I was, we were splurging on things. I had, hundreds of thousands of dollars in vehicles just sitting there, and we were splurging on very expensive things and clothing, and it was just living that crazy life, and we weren't thinking about it. Um, and it's funny that now I make 10 times more than what I make at the dealership. Now I don't go shopping anymore. I I
It's a
I
phase. It's a phase that you
I
go
drive
through.
a Jeep, as an everyday, driver, and back then it was like, oh, I gotta get this BMW, this, Lincoln Navigator. Now to me, all that stuff is just it's materialistic stuff. My
I
wife
think
and
also,
I,
you think it's also the older you get.
you learn that like you start listening to the greater people, and you turn to look at life a little different. As you get older as well, you tend to say, you know what, a $300 watch, what's his name said, ¿cómo se llama? The
Chat.
Apple,
Oh,
no,
Steve Jobs.
Steve Jobs. $300 watch will tell the same time, that a $20,000 watch can, and you tend to look at things different. You tend to put value in other things. Now I value more traveling with my family than wearing a $10,000 watch, than wearing $600-800 shoes. My wife and I last year we went to Jamaica, Costa Rica, Panama, Colombia
So the
twice.
focus changed.
The focus
The
totally
focus
changed.
change is splurging more on experiences than
The
materialistic things.
materialistic things,
Okay.
and it's maturing. It's basically what it boils down to.
But if the money's there, you still buy the 20,000 dollar watch. If the money's coming in,
The money's
or you or
there.
you or you just won't because it doesn't attract you no more.
I have expensive things, but it's to me it's whatever.
No, because if that makes you feel good, that's something that you want.
Before wearing a $10,000-20,000 watch would make me feel like whatever. Nowadays it's like, okay, whatever. I did it. It's no big deal to me now. You know, the money's there. We can go, go buy a watch, for 10, 15, $20,000. But do I want to do that? Do I want to? No, I'd rather take $30,000 and buy land and invest and build a house in that land and turn that $30,000 into $300,000. You understand?
Yeah.
So I look at things a lot different now. I don't. Uh, a lot comes from, like we talked about earlier. The motivation that you have behind you. Guiding you. Um, I was always a big spender. And my wife, she's very, how do you say, she's very my wife, she's not huge on going out and splurging. I would splurge for her. I would go out
That's
and
your
buy
queen, bro.
her.
You gotta,
I
you got,
would go, yeah, my queen. I gotta buy her these shoes, and I gotta buy her.
you want to give him the best
I
of the
want to get the
best.
best of the best. But she always had this mentality, and it taught me a lot. She would always say like, "No, but hey, we're doing it backwards. You know, let's go out there and put that money towards something else, and then we go and splurge on the." But to me, I'm like, why wait? We can do it now. I'm making good money now. Let's do it now. And she's like, no, no, no. Let's do it different. And I learned a lot from her. So
So you left, and what you're doing now, you're in construction. You're building homes, doing little, doing renovations as well, right? What got you into that? What because you're behind the desk selling service, and then all of a sudden now it's just a transition of construction out of and having to learn all that.
I've always had the desire to build. I it was a point in my life back in 2004 when I wanted to become an engineer, but I didn't like school. And school for engineering was very very rough, and I would always had that in the back of my head. One day I'm gonna be a builder. I'm gonna be a developer, and it stuck with me to this day. And when I transitioned into remodeling, I started out remodeling houses, and when I started remodeling, I fell in love with the transitioning period of what you can take something from what it is and turn it into something
Totally different.
amazing,
Hmm.
gorgeous, different, and that gave me a sense of fulfillment,
Satisfaction.
satisfaction that I found my true passion then. When I did my first project and I saw it come to life, I said, this is what I was born to be, and I fell in love with it. So the transition was easy because now it's not work anymore. When I was waking up to go to a 9 to 5, it was a burden for me. Now I'm having fun. I wake up. I'm
You're probably working more hours
oh, listen, I
and
work more
everything,
hours
but
than I've
but
ever
but
worked in my
you enjoy
life.
it. But you
But
enjoy it.
it's
But you
enjoyment,
enjoy it.
and my wife and I work together. Most people they say, "Are you crazy? How can you work together with your wife and you're 24/7 with her and work?" Listen, I enjoy
You
my.
have a good chemistry with her,
We
man.
have a good chemistry, so it's kind of funny the way we do it because when we're at work, she's it's a work partner, but we don't mix work and home. I don't know. It's weird to,
No,
to,
of
to
course,
try to
no,
explain
but
it.
that's the way it is, man.
My
In
work
my business,
partner
I have my dad and my brother, and when it's business, it's
is
business.
business,
After that,
right?
it's family.
We come home, we put the husband and wife suit on and the dad and mom suit
That's it.
on, and it's a whole different story. But when we're out there, it's business, and we present ourselves as business partners. So that transition was fun. It was great then. It's great now. I love what I do. I have a passion for it, and even a bigger transition was going from remodeling to building houses from zero, which was what I ultimately wanted to be, a developer. So when I did my first build, that gave me a sense of accomplishment that's out of this world. I was like,
Of
wow,
course, man, because you're buying a piece of land and you're building something. You're like, man, this is crazy.
yeah.
You know.
So I'm having fun, man. I'm having fun
You
with
ended up building up in Sebring, right? You were
correct
telling me you have
in
a couple
Sebring.
couple houses. It's crazy how Sebring
Yeah,
is
Sebring right now is booming.
everybody's moving up there, man.
Yeah, a lot
Up
of
there into the West Coast.
a lot of transition is happening. Sebring,
It's so expensive down here.
exactly. A lot of the market here is kind of weird right now because we have all the New Yorkers and Californians that came down and they brought everything skyrocket. So a lot of people locals,
You know what I
when
think too though is touching on that subject. I think is yeah, the a lot of people coming down here raise rents, raise a lot of stuff, raise the house prices, but it's also my opinion, no? Um it's people are buying and renting at that price because they're saying, okay, yeah, that's the price, but it's not really a family. It's either two families or three families
right,
living in there. So then, these rental communities or the stuff they keep the prices. They don't drop the prices.
yeah,
You know, that's my opinion. You know what I'm saying? And it sucks because it's starting. A regular family that wants to buy a house. It's tough for them
what
to be able to afford it. So that's why they're. This is my opinion again. They're starting to go more north or more to the west
what
because
I
it's more
what I think
affordable.
also happened, during the pandemic, you have a lot of people after the pandemic, not during the pandemic, but after the pandemic, a lot of people got sent home and they stayed remotely working from home. So you gotta keep in mind, New York gets a higher salary than Florida does.
Yeah, I know.
California has a higher salary than Florida does. So a lot of people transition from New York into Florida while working remotely. you're still getting paid New York salary. You're living down here
Yeah.
in Florida. So for you, $4,000 a month for rent is nothing. You're making New York
When you're
money.
paying like 16 grand,
Exactly. So,
12
so
grand.
so when they came down here, and you had a house up for sale for $500,000, somebody from New York said 500. I'll give you 600 so you don't change your mind. And I'll pay cash. We actually lost a bid. There was a distressed property that we were bidding on, and they wanted $500,000 here in South Ranches for the house, and we put a bid in for I think it was $15,000 or $20,000 over asking price, and we lost a bid to somebody from New York that bought it for $100,000 over asking price.
That's crazy, man.
A distressed property. So I was like,
Yeah,
how do you
he probably tore it down and just
tore it
built.
down and rebuild it? But
Because
how
you
do you
can't find
compete with
land
that
down here.
at the time? Like, wow, this is crazy. But a lot of people that were living here figure that they started shifting north because they can afford to live north. What you're paying for rent here in an apartment, you can buy a house up north in Sebring and pay that same amount for your own house and still be able to work home remotely, and live comfortably. So we started building up there, and it just skyrocketed. We're transitioning. There's a lot of hot markets right now in Florida. So
That being one of them. Yeah, man, the market right now is I don't know, man. I don't know, because I'm in the whole rental stuff, and rents are going to start coming down. Rents are going to start coming down a bit. But and a lot of people are going back. A lot of New Yorkers are going back.
a lot of New Yorkers not by choice. I heard that a lot of companies are asking them to come back, or they're reduce their salaries. So
I'm a strong believer that if you got employees, you got to have them there in the office,
you
man.
gotta have them in the office. Yeah.
I'm a strong believer in that. Working remote and stuff like that. If you're sick or whatever, I understand, but and you still want to work or whatever, you can still function, but you don't want to get anybody else sick in the office. I understand that, but you have to be there, man.
Yeah.
You got to be there because it just creates culture, creates everything. You just can't have everybody everywhere.
Right.
You don't really
Right,
know. Everything's gonna go down. Production, everything. I don't think you'll be able to hold the same standards if you're in the office or
Right.
not.
How do you like? I know we talk about me all the time, but you transition as well. How do you like being an entrepreneur?
It's tough, man. It's tough. I enjoy it though. I enjoy every single day of it. But it was tough, man. It was tough for me.
What do you enjoy the most out of
The freedom.
the freedom? Exactly. I was just about to say the same thing.
And not freedom in the sense that I'm gonna go do because I have responsibilities. I have I have a team, that I'm constantly being called, and even though I'm trying to build, so that way I'm not the business I'm only in the business maybe 15-20% and have the business run itself. I don't have to be on it. I'm slowly getting there. We're only I left BMW in 2018, mid 2018, and in the past 5, it's gonna be 6 years now that I left. It's grown tremendously, man.
That's
It's been a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, man. And it's not just me. It's my whole team, man.
I love it.
I have a great team behind me.
That's awesome, man.
But it's tough, man. It's tough, but definitely the freedom.
That's what I
Be
love
able
the
to take my
most.
kids in the
Yeah.
morning to school, being able to pick them up because at the dealership it was you couldn't.
Yeah.
You couldn't. God forbid you called out sick, bro.
Oh man, let me tell you, that's the biggest thing that I enjoy. Also, I stopped doing what I love the freedom. I stopped doing it for the money, because I love what I do so much. It's no longer about the money. The money's there. The money's gonna come. The money's gonna be there. But I go to work every day, man, and it's just such a joy. And no, I'm not saying that
It's peaches and cream, bro.
that it's peaches and cream.
Because it's definitely stressful.
You have some stress. You have I still deal with clients. But it's a different type of stress. The freedom that you have to be able to drop your kids off, pick them up, go to all their events, go to all their award ceremonies, um, be able to travel whenever you want to. It's priceless. Like I told you before, last year we went on so many vacations, my wife and I and the kids and everybody, and it was just, when you're in the corporate world, God forbid, like you said, you ask for some time off, and it's like, okay, we'll give you 5 days. That's it. That's all you've earned for a year worth of work. It's like, come on, man, are you serious? Yeah, and then they expect you to work while you're on vacation.
Yeah,
So,
we had to get calls,
oh, yo,
clients
it's out of
calling us.
control, out of control,
Oh man, it was the worst, man.
out of control.
But
So
but now it's still the same thing. But maybe because it's for yourself,
it's different.
it's totally different. Because when I go on vacation, dude, I'm working. I work 7 days a week, bro.
See, I
But I don't see it as work. That's the thing. I don't see it as work. I just see it as, I just have to handle this, and that's it. And I just keep on with my day. I don't disconnect.
you know what? I learned to disconnect. It took me a while to learn that, but you have to. At some point, you have to leave work at work, and you have to focus on your personal life. They're both important. Your life cannot be work all the time. You have to find a transition point between what's work and what's at home.
Well, no, I understand that. I agree with you. But what I'm saying is, it's not like, right now we're talking, we're filming this, but I'm not thinking about work. I'm living in the now.
Right.
But if my phone rings for an emergency or something, I'm gonna answer.
Oh,
it.
absolutely. I understand that.
That's what I mean. It's not that I'm not living in the now. I am living
Right,
in the
right,
now, but I'm on call. Things could happen, It's not like
Yeah. But I meet so many people that they go home and
keep working.
They keep working, and now you're stealing time from your family, and I told myself, listen, and I did this even at the dealership. It became a time where, I checked out a year prior to me leaving. I was mentally checked out, and I was like, you know what, I'm not gonna. Family's so important to me that we had a work phone, remember, and I kept it at the desk. I never brought my work phone home. I didn't want nobody calling me, while I'm off duty hours, because you have to also focus on your family. At the end of the day, that's what's gonna carry you, through when you get older. So to this day now, I transition the same way. Even my wife works with me. I say once we clock out, right, and we're in home mode, we're in home
That's
mode.
it. Don't talk
That's
to me
it.
about work.
Don't ask me about what type of flooring we're gonna put on that house. I don't want to hear it. Talking about what we're watching on Netflix or what we're gonna do. So it's different.
It took me a while, man, because when I left, dude, for the past 4 years, 3 years after I left it, during 3-4 years while I was building the business, I worked, dude. I worked, and I understand what you're saying, because it caused stress in my relationship. It caused stress, with my kids, because I would work constantly. So the time that I was supposed to be with my kids, I was working. So I wasn't really spending time with my kids.
But that's understandable.
But I was building something from zero.
Right. That's what I was just about to say.
From zero.
It's understandable because you're building.
Exactly. I was in the building
Right.
stage. Now, yeah, there's times that, like, today my oldest son had football practice. I told him, look, man, I'm sorry, I won't be able to make it today. Things like that. That you just can't. You do other things, but
Yeah, but you inspired me, bro. Believe it or not, because when remember, we will always talk, and
we're always trying to motivate.
always
each
trying
other.
to motivate each other. But you were the first one that took the leap of faith.
Yo estaba cagado, bro. I
Oh,
was
bro,
scared
listen,
as shit.
everybody was. Even I was scared for you, because I'm like, it's funny that we say, we want to do certain things, but
We
at the
always
same
talk about
time,
it.
in the back of your head, you're like, okay, do I want to leave a job making 100K plus, a year to go into venture into the unknown, But when you did that, bro, and I want to tell you this, very humbly, you inspired me a lot. Even now, bro, with what you're doing, it's still inspiring. And I remember you would look up to me in certain things, and then I want to tell you that I also looked up to you as well when you took that leap of faith,
I appreciate
and
that.
you were that, besides my wife, you were also that driving factor that drove me to say, you know what, he,
I would never think that, bro.
yeah, 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 man. I
Maybe
want
because
to tell you that.
maybe because I was always like the young one around everybody. Everybody was a lot older than me, so I was like, why would all these older guys want to, look at the young guy for inspiration? You know what I'm
Right,
saying?
right. But you had a lot of great ideas too, and I was always out there trying to hustle,
Hustle.
trying to hustle and hustle and hustle and hustle. But you had a lot of great ideas as well. We became very, very close those times that we spent together, and we shared a lot of information, a lot of different things, and a lot of different ideas. And let me tell you, it's inspiring, man. And I can't say that enough because I'm so humble being here with you talking about
I
in this
appreciate that,
in
man.
this
Don't make me start
podcast, bro.
crying.
No,
Like,
man,
let
it's
me
just I
start
mean it
crying.
from the heart, brother. I'm glad that you're doing well. I'm glad that your company took off the way it did, man. And you know what? I I I pray to God Almighty that all the people that were there that time, that little circle that we had, that they all turn out to do well, because we were dreamers, at that time. We were younger, and we had desires and dreams, and now, seeing our dreams fulfill themselves. You had a dream to do certain things, and I'm sure that some of those dreams and desires that you had are starting to fulfill themselves. And I had dreams and desires, leaving that world behind and becoming what I am now. And it's happening. You know,
That's a great satisfaction. It's like
very,
it's
very,
a great feeling, man.
very good feeling, man. So I love it. I love being here. I love being in this podcast with you, man. And I look forward to us, getting together more often.
A
I know
hundred
work
percent,
is
man.
work is
100%.
it's
Work gets in the way, man.
gets in the way of a
Work and
few things,
family.
and family, yeah. But
Work and family gets in the way.
we
But
gotta find time to
but
get together more.
we have to, man. There was I know that we were talking about the whole um building of the houses and all that, but I wanted to touch this subject with you because I know that you ended up, joining, becoming a Freemason. I remember you telling me, like, no, Stan, I'm gonna, join this lodge, right? It's a
Right,
lodge,
right,
right? It's a
right,
lodge,
right.
and this and that. Like, bro, are you sure, man?
One of the
You
greatest
know,
things I've ever done.
really?
Absolutely, absolutely.
It's like a brotherhood, right?
Yeah, it's a lot more than that, but I to go back into the military days. I almost became a Mason in my military years. And unfortunately, the Iraq War happened, and I got shipped off to Iraq, and I lost contact with the guys that were trying to, get me into the fraternity. There's a lot of stigma behind Masonry, a lot of
A
things, a
lot of
lot of
conspiracies.
conspiracies, and people fear the unknown. Um, and a lot of talks about how Masonry, they worship the devil, and they sacrifice animals, and they do you go on the internet, you hear all kind of crazy stories. But the truth of the matter is, all that Masonry is a brotherhood. It's a system that helps you become the greater version of yourselves. It teaches you in a way, through allegories and symbols, how to bring the best version of Sam there is, and it's done that through the years for me. I can say through Masonry has taught me so much, and I've now feel like I'm a better provider for my family. I'm a better husband. I'm a better father, Um, I used to have anger issues, those things are no longer there, and you transition through a lot of that. You learn to become a better person for civilization as a whole. That it's all in the teachings in Masonry. So it was one of the greatest things that I've ever done.
Yeah, man. I was when you told me that, you just called me off a left field, and I was like, man, what? It just called me off a left field, but knowing the fact that you were able to participate in that lodge. I know there's different lodges, right,
Right.
throughout Is that something that you you were just approached and hey, you should, or you have to give that interest? Like, do they try to recruit you, or you had to show interest and they say, hey, yeah, come, you know,
There's really no recruitment protocol. We always say, to be one, ask one. So you want to be a mason, ask a mason. And I remember I saw a guy that today we're brothers. After me becoming a mason, back in the day, I saw his plate on his vehicle,
you're like, what
and I
was that?
approached him and I said, "Hey, listen, I have that symbol very very embedded in my mind because in the military I wanted to become a mason, so I already knew a little bit about the fraternity.
There's a lot of Masons in the
A
military.
lot of masons in the military. And I asked him, and he says, "You want to see the light?" And I says, "I want to see the light." And I didn't know what that meant, at the time, and we started the paperwork. You have to go through a whole background process.
Oh, really?
Oh, absolutely. They check your background. They um they go to your house and interview your wife and your kids to make sure that you're a good provider to your family, that you're a good human, that you're a good husband, that you're a good father. All
You have
that
good
goes
values. You have
into,
good
you got to
morals.
have good values, good morals, good judgments. So once they do that interview, uh, then it goes up into the lodge, and they bring your profile into the lodge. So, this person is a very good candidate because he has good moral judgment, good values. He's overall a good human being. And you get to know the brothers and get to interact with them. The process takes a while. It doesn't happen overnight. They don't just accept anybody into the fraternity. The main requirement is you have to believe in a supreme being. You cannot be atheist and be a mason. So you have to believe in God or whoever your creator is. Um, so after that whole process and the whole background investigation and everything comes back, then if you're ready to join the fraternity, then you go through the whole initiation process and go through the different degrees and you know
What degree are you right now? Or
30.
are you still part of the fraternity or?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm very involved in fraternity. We do a lot of charity events, and that's one thing that I really like.
That I noticed. That I noticed that they
We
give back a
we
lot to the
we
community.
do give a lot back to the community. We do a lot of charity work, and I love that. I love giving back. I love the work that we do. We have a nursing home in St. Petersburg. Where we cater to the elderly. We during Christmas we do in October. Christmas in October we bring gifts to them. And we interact with the elderly, and it's very very inspiring moments. That we spend. Um, give a lot to the hospitals. We fund a lot of hospitals. The fraternity funds a lot of hospitals. So it's a very good thing to be a part of. Especially in the world that we're living in now, it's a little rough, a little shaky. So being part of something that big, it's very, very, very motivating for me. So
That's cool, man. You see, like, you hear all these things and you don't know what to believe.
right, people go online and they start
Of course,
investigating,
man. All
and
the conspiracy stuff.
and because we're people say we're a secret society. We're not a secret society. Everybody knows Freemasonry. It's no the Yeah, our rituals are secret, but we're not a secret society. And we keep them secret for a reason. And I'm glad that they're that way. But Masonry, it's a great thing.
Do they teach you things that the general public wouldn't know?
You discuss a lot of things that the general public wouldn't know. I wouldn't say so much as teachings, but there's a lot of discussions that you have that the general public will never know. But it's all for the great. It's all for the great. So
Hmm.
you go through the various degrees, and every degree that you go through, it's all different teachings and all inspired and motivated towards you becoming a better person.
And going through every degree is like you graduating to a different level.
Correct.
So, and is it all like time based, or it all depends as you um how you develop, how you learn, how you know, help other people out, I guess, that they start promoting you in that aspect? Or is it all like by time? Or if you're here, you know, you've been part of the fraternity for X amount of time, you're already moving up? Or is it, or it doesn't really matter? You could move up in rankings in a short period of time because you've devoted a lot to the fraternity. Is that how it works?
Well, in masonry, it's individual based. So there's brothers that become master masons, and they're okay with that. But in masonry, there's a lot more than just becoming a master mason. There's degrees that you can follow, but it's all individual. Nobody pushes you to do them. You go at the pace that you want to go on. You don't have to take the different degrees if you don't want to. Um, I wanted to know more. I wanted to seek more, and I wanted to get more enlightenment. So I went through right away, and after I became a master mason, I went through and I followed the York Rite, and I went through all the degrees in the York Rite and became a Knight Templar, and that was a huge accomplishment for me. Once I became a Knight Templar, and then I took about a year or two off, about a year off, and I started going through all the Scottish Rite degrees, all the way up to the 32nd degree. So it was very, very interesting, and let me tell you, I loved every part of it. And to this day, I'm very involved in the fraternity. I'm 2 years away from becoming the worshipful master of my lodge, which
Nice.
is a very, very big thing. If you're a
Very
Mason,
prestige thing.
which when I do become the worshipful master and I have my ceremony where they do a whole ceremony, you're invited.
I appreciate that, man. I'll be pretty.
I hope to see you there.
Be pretty cool, I guess.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely. I hope to see
be
you there.
pretty cool. So yeah, man. So I just wanted to touch base on with that, because ever since I left, I don't know if you kept on or you didn't, and I haven't really touched base with you in that part of it. But you're still going to church and stuff, right? Or this is something that because I know you were very involved.
Yeah, masonry and church are two different areas. Masonry is not a religion per se. In fact, you're not allowed to talk religion in the lodge. You're not allowed to talk politics in the lodge. Why? Because those are two things that divide people. Religion divides, politics divides. You lose some of your friends because because they're Democrats and you're Republican. You lose some of your friends because they become Protestants and you're whatever else, in the religion, and now you don't see eye to
Do you think they
eye.
do that on purpose?
Religion?
No, just having two of everything to divide us.
Oh man, let me tell you. Do we really want to go there? How much time do we have? Because this is a whole different. This is a whole
I
different.
think that's for like another episode, bro.
This is a whole different
But-
subject that we can
but-
get into. And let me tell you, I don't go to church anore, but I do
Because
believe
you
in
were
God.
because you were very
I was
involved.
very
bro.
involved in the church. I was very, very
'Cause
involved
You
in
would
the church.
you would when we were there you would tell me you would read scriptures and you would
Absolutely.
and I was like, damn, is then so
But I learned a lot, and I learned that a lot of times, church is not it, because a lot of people have church and God mixed up, and they think that God is church, and they go to church every Sunday and they found God, and God is every day, 24 hours, God is everywhere. He's not just at church, he's in you, he's in me, he's there, he's here, he's just everywhere. It's not something that you have to box into
100%,
into a
100%.
into a room to say, "Oh, I'm gonna go seek God." All right, why you have to go there to seek God? He's here, you know. So I learned to build a relationship with God and not a religion with God. You understand? So I kept religion away from it. Religion is man-made. It teaches you, you know, to that their ways are the right way, you know.
Mm.
And who's to say that their ways are the right way? There's 100,000 religions out there. Who's there to say that that one's better than the other one and that one is right? You know, it's your own personal experiences with God. It's your own personal, you know, fulfillment to what God is in your life. You know, other than religion, other than some man-made rules. You know, we have a Bible as a guidance. You know, into what we should be living our days by. You know, basic moral things. You know, don't steal, don't, you know, sleep with your neighbor's wife, and don't, you know, things like that. You know, that's just basic rules of life. You know, and then you build your relationship with God based on your judgment and your morals and your values and your the way you are as a human being. You know, and I pray every day. You know, I pray more now than when I was involved in the church. You know, every single day I have my little ritual thing that I do when I wake up, you know, and the first thing that I do when I wake up is I'm thankful, you know, for another day of life. I think the first miracle that you ever see, it's you waking
Waking
up,
up.
you know, so I'm thankful for that. And I express my gratitude, you know, for another day, you know. Um, I was saying earlier that I experienced firsthand, you know, what when I saw a buddy of mine a couple years ago pass away, you know, and I was there bedside by him when he took his last breath.
I think you
And
told me the story.
man, let me tell you, that changed my whole perspective of life, you know. And going back to what we were talking about earlier about transitioning from work to your kids and your wife and your family at home, you know, that had a lot to do with it because this guy, you know, he was, you know, full of life. And out of nowhere, the doctor told him, listen, you got 22 months to live. And when I sat bedside by him and he took his last breath, I said to myself, I said, that's it.
He's gone.
Life is over for this guy. It's over. It's done. So whatever he did, didn't do, whatever, if he was good, he was bad, doesn't even matter anymore. It's over. It's done. What he didn't do, he didn't do. That's it.
That's it. I know.
There's no, you
That's
know.
why I live.
So now I try to live my life different. You know, after that experience, I live every day to the fullest. I'm thankful for every day that we have. You know, I leave yesterday as yesterday. It's over. Whatever happened yesterday, what happened minutes ago, you can't control. You can only control now,
The now.
but you don't even know tomorrow. But you can live now. So we have this thing where I teach my wife and my kids. You know, let's live life. Let's live life to the fullest. Let's try to wow each other every single day, you know. And my kids do that. My kids wow me every single day. My wife, we try to wow each other every single day, you know, through whatever. My kids come home and they tell me a story that something great happened to them at school, and that's a wow factor.
For me, what I've noticed is that, you know, our kids are, I don't, it's just in all aspects, all my friends, everybody I grew up with, the kids are excelling a lot more than we were. You
So
know, I thought the same thing too. You know, I thought the same thing with my kids. I thought that, damn, you know, they were gonna end up probably even worse than I was, and I wasn't a bad kid. You know, some I would hang around with not so good people. You know, and you get into trouble. But I was thinking the same thing. Total opposite. Total
yeah,
opposite.
I'm glad my kids turned out the way that they did, and that the route that they're taking and the steps that they're going in the right direction, man. Because if they were anything like me, it'd have been all bad. But you know, my oldest is great. My son Matthew, he's an inspiration. You know, you can ask for a better son. You know, and then my little one, she's the ringleader of the house. You know, she tells everybody what to do. But
That's
she's
the
8 years
baby.
old. She's the baby. And all of them being at 3 different age groups. It's like being in a reality TV show at your house every
The
given moment.
Hernandez.
Yeah, any given moment, something crazy might break out at our house, but it's fun. I enjoy my kids so much. I enjoy my house so much. As a whole. With my wife and what we're building together, and with the kids, the way they are, the way our family is. We have Sunday brunch at my house. That's something that I never had when I was a kid. I never had that. Growing up, we never ate dinner together. When I was growing up as a kid, and now we make it a thing,
Priority.
a priority to have dinner together. We sit at the table and we talk. And it's it's awesome to me to hear the conversations that we have, even with my 8 year old. It's so mature. And the way that they see life and the whole perspective on things out there. Because we're living in some tough times for kids nowadays. Very, very tough times.
Yeah, they're growing up too fast.
Growing up too fast, and
There's too much stuff. They're exposed to too much
they're
because of
exposed to a lot.
social media.
Exactly. Social media exposes them to way too much, at an early age. And for my kids to turn out the way they have, even with that exposure that they've had, it's been a blessing, man. It's been a blessing. Couldn't say any other way. So
Yeah, man. Me growing up, it was the same way. It was in the beginning. It was we would have dinner, but then slowly, as the older we got, it would just like you eat and then you eat by yourself. If not, then we would on the weekends, my aunts would come over, my mom, and we would eat, but my brother would be gone or something. Very rarely it was like my ex-wife. She keeps the kids on a regimen. With me and my kid, when I have my kids with me, it's we're having dinner, we're having lunch together, we're having breakfast together. It's like that, But she makes it a big priority.
that's
Big,
awesome.
big priority because it's good, like you said, And you're able to hear them out, hear how their day went, and it's amazing to hear them express themselves, man. To
Absolutely.
me, man, that's like crazy, man. The way they
Absolutely.
started expressing themselves and telling you how they see, the world is it's crazy. Like through the way they see it through their eyes, it's crazy, man.
Absolutely.
It's crazy, Chris. Bro, I don't know, man. We've been going on for a while.
Yeah.
We touched all kinds of subjects.
Everything.
All kinds of subjects. I really want this to repeat itself because we could go down so many
Absolutely.
topics, but let everybody know, what exactly you're doing now, the name of your company, where can they follow you, so that way, you'll be able to.
We're building. Our company is split in 3 different ways. So we have one
What's the
section
name of the company?
MJC Construction Group,
MJC.
and we have Impact Windows side of the company. We have remodeling, interior remodeling, and we have the developer side of the company. So we build houses from scratch. We work with a lot of investors from overseas, investors from here, also the United States, to build, and we remodel all types of.
That's all only here in Florida.
So far we're only here in Florida, but we're starting to venture now into Texas. So
Oh, really?
oh yeah, we're starting to venture into Texas. We have some things in the works right now in Texas. So
There's a lot of land in Texas.
a lot of
man.
land in
I
Texas.
see all those houses that on Instagram, and for 192,000 you get like what 192,000? It must be somewhere in the boondocks,
Yeah, no,
bro.
there's a lot. There's a lot to do in Texas, believe it or not.
So yeah, man. So where can they follow you, man? You have Instagram,
MJC Construction Group and Instagram and Facebook. I myself personally, I'm not big on social media personally. I have a page, Revolution_couple, I believe is what it is. And then just MJC Construction Group for the company.
Sweet, man. Sweet, Chris. Thanks again, man. This is episode 3, and it was good stuff, man. I can't wait. I can't wait for the next episode, man.